Hey, I'm Jeff, spiritual escape artist, and today I want to talk about, yet another power. A power that we have, a key, if you will, a key to relationships. So this is your key to everybody else. And it's through the words you speak, it's through communication. But to really begin to understand how to communicate, there are two things that must be understood: how to listen and what these words mean, which means what they mean to you, as well as what they mean to others. The thing of the thing is, everybody has their own meaning to these words that we sing. They have their own associations, definitions, that lay out into a great tapestry, an organization, a system of language that is underpinning all of these primary words that we use in communication. And as we are expressing and speaking, we are sharing forth our expression of how we identify with ourselves and others and the world. And that's how we choose these words. And we're using it based on the meaning that we give to these words. So if there is a breakdown in any relationship that you may have, it always falls on communication. Communication every single time, because if you cannot communicate yourself to another, especially someone of importance, someone that's close to you, someone in a business, someone that you are living your life with, and who is relying on your ability to communicate, your authenticity in your word, your ability to speak clearly, whether or not you withhold information, each and every one of us is directly responsible for the amount of connection that we can make with another person. And that which holds us back, what holds us back from saying the things that need to be said, all the worries and all the fears are blockages in that conduit of communication, in that connection between 2 points, you and another. A boss and an employee, a spouse with another spouse, a community leader with a person, with a civilian. As soon as there's a breakdown of communication, the system becomes corrupted and foul and discordant, because there is now incorrect information being spread forth. And that is breaking down systems, breaking down links, breaking down connections to other people. And then new values are put in place. Like, say, we can talk about the corruption that we see in business and politics. When you see that everyone has an ulterior motive in that world to gain profit, to gain admiration, to gain power, and to gain leverage by selling their belief to other people, you see that it creates a corrupt system, because there's only so much they're willing to show. They're only willing to show so many cards to their hand. So that level of manipulation has entered into the societal structures that make up our society and our economy and business, and we've been taught these things. And those are the very things that, when we abide by those, that's when our relationships break down and fail, because we're more concerned with blaming. We're more concerned with not being accountable to our own word and choices. We become more invested in putting our best image out there. And we're so careful about what others may see or what they will see, especially the people closest to us. And whether or not it is spoken, whether or not it comes out of you, communication is more than these words. They are the gaps between, the silence. So much is conveyed in the pauses and what you don't say, that really makes up far more of communication than just understanding the library of words that we give meaning to. Because that meaning also exists in a great intangible reservoir of our unconscious. It's in how we feel, the moods that we occupy, all of the things that we determine what to say or what not to say, or how we go through our day in a communicative way, has to do with our mental state and our mood. And that is the environment that we have created for ourselves with our own self-talk, both in our waking life and in our dreams. We're always at the drawing board of ourselves. We're always right up there in the sandbox playing with the sand of our own creation. We lose sight of how unconsciously we use our words and how we unconsciously listen to the words of others, and we do not see what they mean, nor do they see what they mean, because we do not see what we mean, because we're not listening or paying attention, because we're on to the next thing, seeking the next distraction, seeking the next pleasure, seeking the way to ultimately our well-being, but doing so by avoiding pain and avoiding fear and avoiding the things that we are nervous or insecure about or don't want to say. But that is the quick way. That is the way through. That is the way through to freedom. And that's why we say the truth will set you free. And in order to communicate and communicate properly, one must be honest and hold their own word accountable. Word is bond. These things are power. These things are magic. That's why we must be careful. And we must listen. And this links to the previous video on the superpower of listening. That's the first power you must engage to access these other powers. And these powers mean everything. Influence, understanding, through communication, through conveying yourself, gets you what you need and want in life. And oftentimes, your opportunities break down because you're unwilling to communicate or ask for help, as well as your breakdown in communication and your relationships can turn very badly if you assume what another thinks or what another means by speaking for them in your own mind and listening to that first instead of listening to them. So you see, communication really is interwoven inside all of human activity. We just don't give it that kind of time of day, that credit that it deserves, and to recognize that there is a power there, that there is this button that you can press, that if you get better at that, you commit yourself to speaking with integrity, to speaking clearly, to finding out who you are, looking within and knowing what all these feelings mean, and actually coming up with words for it, and actually coming up with an image for it, and then being creative and expressive in that. Oh my goodness, it reintroduces you to yourself. It reintroduces you to a potential for yourself to be much more than you ever thought you could be. And to see your place in the world, your place in the universe, and how much of an impact you have on others, and how really integral that really is. You're supposed to be you. The point in which you occupy is necessary, as is mine. And we can only meet at that same point, that point of right here, right now, is where all communication is made. And it requires both listening and awareness, attentiveness, mindfulness. That's why these things are important. Because they teach us the skills to free us from ourselves, to free us from our habits, our old habits, our negative talking, our negative stories that we spew on everybody else when we've had too much. You're always telling a story. We all are, as am I right now to a camera. It's just, I feel it most important that we be careful and we give our thought and our time and our effort and our energy into that, because it really is having an effect on physical reality. That's how all of this stuff is coming to being. All of this stuff, this room, these paintings, this electronics, all these things that we're using that we can so easily take for granted, that we can forget to be thankful for. All these modern conveniences were all put in place through a thought, through a word, from a being, from a person just like you. And you have just as much potency, just as much influence, just as much power in your life. As a matter of fact, you're the only one in your life that has that much power in the first place, regardless of whether else you put it on or how you portray what we could call this higher power. It's there too, but what it's called and how you interact with it is up to you. That's up to you. That's your station, that's your place, that's your life, that's your belief system. It's your words, it's your language, it's your identity. And this was all about communication. And that's what I wanted to communicate to you. So if you liked what I said, please click on a thing or like the thing or comment, interact with me, talk to me, ask me a question, interact with this. So I kind of drew a blank there. I guess that means I'm done. So thank you so much. Thanks for watching. And yeah, like and subscribe and share it with somebody. That's what I mean to say. So thank you.